So I had a reviewer. So I had a viewer ask me to. Uh, well, he had a question about trusses, which is kind of a coincidence because we've been talking about the Florida International University bridge collapse, and I have been talking about how I do not think it was a very good design. It certainly wasn't a very good truss design, and that, well, I really didn't want to get into this. I got myself into this, didn't I, by just talking about it. But that it should have been, the way it was designed was initially intended to be a suspension cable bridge where those web members were designed to be supported by the cables. Anyway, my didn't really mean to start off this video that way, but anyway, it's a coincidence. This viewer asked me about a truss for a pole barn, and so I thought I would help him out. He said it was going to be 26'6" wide, so I thought I would just go into my upper view mode here, and I'll just start off by drawing a line 26 foot 6 inches, and that's the width of his pole barn. Now, I would probably, I tend to overkill this stuff a little bit. Let me make sure I've got my mouse, tracking. And I would make these out of 2x6s, but you can make these out of 2x4s. 26'6" is not a crazy span. Let me turn off this axis so I can delete this girl. It's funny because SketchUp comes with a little person in there to give you, sort of orientate you to your view, but I've gotten used to it, so I don't need that. Anyway, so I'm going to make these trusses out of 2x4s because it'll be more economical. It's a pole barn, and it's really not that necessary. Let me turn my axis back on for a second. I just realized I need to get I'll just leave it on. It's not that annoying. The 2x4 trusses will be more economical, and so that's the width of our bottom chord. So he also, I think we talked about a 412 pitch roof, so I'll just come back 12 inches, and for those of you who don't know, the pitch means, the 412 means that for every 12 inches of run, there are 4 inches of rise. So you see that doesn't match up with my 2x4 very well, but I'm going to go ahead and make that line go to my 4-inch mark, and then we'll just delete the part of it that we don't need, that little part right there. And I'm going to go do the same thing on the other end. I'll just make sure I've got 26'6" again. I'll come down here, go back 12 inches, go up 4 for my 412, and that gives me the slope of the cut of the top of the bottom chord. Oops, I think I'll leave that 26'6" mark there. So that is our bottom chord. Now it will be in 2 pieces. So where's the center? Right there. So we'll go ahead and draw us a line for the center. Okay. Now, since my material is 2x4s, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to offset this angle 3.5, 3.5, and I'm going to give myself a 12-inch overhang that way. Then I can just simply, I'm just going to start up here somewhere, go down to that mark, then I'm going to extend this mark down and connect those 2 points. Then I've got the start of my top chord. And all this stuff is kind of easy. there's a free version of SketchUp online that's basically web-based now, which I think is really cool. And I don't know what the full features of it are. In other words, this is SketchUp Pro. I'm not sure if it has the same features. I'm just going to bring that line on down and bring that out, and then delete that. Oops, got a little black screen there. Am I still recording? Yep. That's scary. Sometimes I'll get that and it will actually stop recording, and I have done hours of video before and lost it. So now I'm just going to run these lines up here like this. Run this up here like that. And then I'm going to clean all that up. I'm going to zoom in up here, and I'm going to take my eraser, get rid of those lines, that line. And then I'm going to draw a line, because these are going to be two separate 2x4s right there down the middle. So there we go, and I'm going to delete this face. So that's basically the truss, the outline of the truss there. And it is, just to give you an example, and I'll put dimensions on this later, 4'8" and 11/16 tall. And that's not too bad. When you're standing up here, you know, raising these trusses, it's nice when you can stand and see the top of them, you know, so you can pull a string and make sure they're all lined up at the top. Now, the tricky part of a truss, and this kind of goes back to the discussion about the bridge, the pedestrian bridge in Florida, is that a truss has consistent web members. In other words, and they're based on 45-degree angles. And so sometimes I'll just, to keep this really simple, I'll just take my little protractor thing here, and I'll just make myself a 45-degree angle like that. And then I'll just draw a little line on that part, and then I'll move that line to the center there. You see what I did? And then I can extend that line on down. Okay. Now, I hate these stinking faces. SketchUp creates a face because SketchUp is made for modeling, and that face is so you can put textures on it. Anyway, so that would be that first center line of my first web. Then you're basically going to go from that mark, find that center, go up here and go back the other way 45 degrees. You see, and that's how trusses work. They don't go at funky angles. If you'll go back to the bridge, now on a rare occasion you'll have, you know, you'll have differences, but you can take these things to the nth degree. You can actually do that again if you want to, like that, but that's not necessary on this particular truss I'm doing. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat already. So that is, and what I'll do, and sometimes I do this kind of crudely. Well, what I can do is I can create a group out of that, and then I can copy it, and then I can mirror that one. Oh, wrong way. Sorry. I can't believe I made a mistake. I meant to grab that and mirror it. I meant to go in the middle here and go back one unit in that direction, and then I can just, you know, now what I should have done, I'm just going to delete that, but that's what it'll look like, to give you an idea in case you're just dying to leave the video. But I'm going to delete that because what I'm going to do is draw these first. I'm going to complete this. So if these are going to be 2x4s, that would be 1.75 inches both ways. Like that, and like this. 75. 75. Okay, so then I would just have to complete all those lines. And I'll come back and delete all those faces. Now I can get rid of that middle part and my construction lines. Now is when I should have, I'm going to go ahead and delete those faces because they drive me nuts. I wish there was I think you can turn that off or somehow. That's one thing I need to look at. And now, I want to change this a little bit. I just realized what I want to do. There's an alternate way of doing this, and I'm actually going to recommend it, and that is, I'll make a group out of this. I'm going to move this over, and I'll show you why in a minute. I didn't mean to copy it. I guess I just did, didn't I? Because I want the point of, oops, I should have exploded that. I want this point to be on this side of the center, and I'll show you why in a second. So that just means I need to fix this down here. That needs to be extended on down. This needs to be deleted. And then that. Now, let's see. This is normally okay, so it's been a while since I've done this, so I'm a little rusty. What you want here is 1.75. What you want here is not a, you want this to be, this to come back like this. Now my phone's ringing. Sorry. And like this. Is that right? Yeah, that's the way you want that. And again, this will become more clear in a minute. Now I need to make this, because you want these to have a shape that's easier to cut. We'll make that a group. And why is that not straight? That is odd. What happened? That is odd. I didn't draw that straight. Wow, I'm losing it, man. ArtisanTony, you're losing it. I thought something looked odd about that. Delete all that. So, and you'll see what I mean. I'm just going to delete this temporarily right here. When you start to make these web pieces, you'll want them to have basic shapes, easy shapes that you can work with. But what that means is that if you're going to have this member start here, that this all needs to, and I'm going to delete this for right now. And see, this is why you want to plan this out, okay? You want to draw this out to scale, like this, because you'll avoid these mistakes in the field when you start cutting your pieces. All this needs to be planned out, and all your pieces. When you're building trusses, you'll know what your piece members are. You want um, you're not going to have any trouble. Let's go back to, there's no mystery, right? All these pieces are going to be the same length on every truss, and if they're not, and that's the way you should approach this. Set up a little jig, make all these pieces, okay? And when I'm done, I'll actually make a little parts list. Get rid of that. Now I meant to put that piece down like that. Now, that's going to make that 2x4. That's going to make these 2x4s easy to cut. And I'm still up here. Okay, now I have that. I can copy that. Copy that. It's cold in this, golly, you know, in my boxers. I had to turn the heater on. Make a group. And I'm going to copy that. Copy that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, did I? See what happens when these thinking, these faces mess you up. Did I get everything I wanted? Yeah. Make a group. There we go. Now I can copy that. Roger, copy that. And I can mirror it. And that'll be my other side. I gotta make sure I go 1 unit. There we go. And then it'll snap when you go 1. And there you go. What'd I do? Explode. Now, there you go. I know I've said there you go a number of times. Now, what I'm going to recommend, and this is, you don't have to do this if you're going to use the proper gussets, the connector plates, but what I like to do to make everything cool is go ahead and put a 1.75, one in the middle. I just like it, 1.75, because what it just helps your bottom core, especially if you have a really long span. Okay, now if you're not going to use this member, this middle member, okay, why did I didn't get a face? That's weird. What did I do wrong? Okay. Something's odd. Something is odd. Time to go 3D. So if you don't use this member, you'll want to move these webs back over, okay, to the, well, you can actually leave it this way, but not really. You'll want to move this over to where this is, half of this side is in the center and half of this side is in the center, so you can put one big gusset up there, one big, and you can use either plywood or metal gussets. And I'm trying to figure out why. I'm going to actually delete this because something's funky. I'm going to do that again. I should have gotten a, and this is where you get into some of these CAD programs. They're just kind of, they have slight bugs in them, or if you're not careful, I'm not going to blame it on SketchUp. I'm just going to say, I'm going to run this line on up to here. I'm going to say, if you don't draw it right, how about if I say that? I ain't going to blame it on SketchUp. And then I'm going to delete that. You see, because it was, wait a minute. See, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, I get it. Okay, that needs to be exploded. Okay. See, it's a long story, but I knew this was, yeah, it's acting proper now. It wasn't acting proper. The faces weren't acting, and the reason it was because this was, I still had it as a group and I hadn't exploded it. I forgot to explode it from where I copied it over there. Now I can go back to my perfect top view, and we don't need these construction lines anymore. Okay, so there you go. Now, if I had time, I may have time. Let me see what time it is. I'll go ahead and extrude these, and but that's the way your truss should be designed. These should be 45-degree angles, and they should start at the center and come down 45 degrees. That 45 degrees is off of the bottom chord, okay? And then it goes 45 degrees back that way. And if this was a floor truss, it would look more normal because you wouldn't have these sloped top chords. But you would just have 45 degrees going bam, 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 you know, back and forth all the way. And there's no ambiguity there. There's no mystery. There's no weirdness in design like there is in the Florida International University trusses, so-called trusses. They weren't trusses because you see, in a floor truss, you can have loads act differently, a little bit differently than they do on the roof truss. Here, I'm always going to have weight pushing down on this member. If I have a load on the roof, it's always going to be pushing down here and pulling down. If the load is here, it'll be pulling down here. This member will be in tension, and this member will be in compression. Okay. Now on a floor truss, you have, depending on where the loads are, this member might be in tension and that one might be in compression. The role of these members, web members, change as you go along, but depending on where the loads are, and that is the problem. I'm going to talk while I go ahead here. That's the problem with the design of the Florida bridge, is that I'm going to bring these up 1.5, is that all I'm doing now is extruding this to make them 2x4s. Is that no, it's not designed as a proper truss, and that's why. And I don't know why people keep arguing with me about this. It's self-evident that it wasn't designed as a truss because it fell. You can't make every member of a truss in tension and expect it to go from tension to compression. And that's what they were expecting. They had tension rods in those web members, okay? And they were expecting the roles of those webs to change when they couldn't, because they were in tension all the time. So it's like you holding, I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me? It's like you holding a rope apart. Where are you? I put my hands close. It's like you pulling on a rope. Okay, I got a rope between my two hands. I'm pulling, pulling, pulling. Now, set a concrete block on top of my hand, this hand. It wants to push, right? What happens when that goes? It tries to go in compression. Now you got a rod that's in tension, and you're trying to compress it. Okay. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that actually. So now, what you're going to do is you'd be better off. Now, I meant to say this in the beginning, and that is, you're going to have to check your local codes, your local building inspector, and ask them if this drawing needs to be stamped. If it does, you're probably not going to save any money. You know, you'd probably be better off just getting a truss company to make these, because, you know, a structural engineer is going to charge you probably as much as you could buy the material for these trusses. just to stamp it, and then, you know. But now, if your local building official is not going to require you to have a stamped drawing, and I've run into this before. This is how I know. I've built trusses before in counties, in municipalities that didn't require this because they were sort of in rural areas and they didn't have many inspections anyway. A lot of the rural areas only have like inspections for electrical and your septic system, and that's it. They don't have building inspections per se. In those counties, you probably won't have to have a stamped drawing, in which, again, you'd be better off just buying the trusses from a truss manufacturer, unless you live way out in the boonies where the shipping or, you know, the delivery cost would be higher. You just have to weigh all these costs, do sort of a cost analysis. You also have to figure your time on this. I would give yourself credit for some time. You could be working on something else, you know, making money doing something else. You have to analyze your time. A lot of people don't do that. They undervalue their time, and they'll say, "Oh, I could build those trusses for free." You can't do anything for free. That's that you know, fake energy stuff you see on the internet. Nothing is free. So anyway, there's your truss. I'm rotating it around in space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this whole thing a component. And if I had time, what time is it? I might have a little bit of time. I'm going to make that a component. Say create. Now that is a component. Well, you know what I meant to do? No, I want to make it a group first. I'll show you why in a minute. Make group. Because I'm going to build these, I'm going to show you two different ways. And this is how we used to do it back in the old days. Yeah, I've been doing this, I've been in construction for 40 years, so I've been doing this a long time. And what we used to do back in the old days, when it was, you know, is we would come up with a, let's call it 12 by 8, 12 inches by 8 inches. And then we're going to make it 1/2 inch plywood. Bring that up 1/2 inch. You see, then I'm going to make that the group itself. And I'm going to center it. Let's see. How am I going to center it? I want to center, I'm going to bring this line down here for a second. Then I'm going to move. Is that my midpoint? Yeah. Put the midpoint back on that. Okay. So these would be plywood. Okay. And then what you'd do is you would use construction adhesive, and you would put, you know, four screws or nails in this one, 4 screws and nails in this one, 4 screws or nails, 4 screws or nails. You'd put a bunch of, you know, maybe 6-penny nails or 8-penny nails, and that would be your gusset. And you would put those, and you'd have one there, and in the middle, oops, the black screen of death again. Now, let me see. Lock that, and I'm going to go there, like that. And then you'd have one over here. And that one you'd just run, you know, maybe to here. And then we'll edit this one. We'll make this a custom gusset for this end, like that, like that. Okay. Now, some people, I have gotten by with putting these on one side. You can put them on two sides, both sides. You're better off putting them on. Let's see, yeah, I can copy that one. Copy. I'm gonna go down here. I want to mirror that one. Didn't mean to get funky. Gonna get to where I can see it. See the nodes. There we go. Like that. And again, you see the gusset needs to be, these connector plates need to be big enough so that you can get a glob of construction adhesive underneath them and get plenty of nails. And see, this is where the ambiguity or the questions, the structural engineer is going to say, if you have to get these stamped, he's going to say, well, how much glue are you going to use, and how many screws are you going to use, and how big are these gussets going to be? And you see, it just gets fussy. And then you'd have one up here. You'd have a big one up here. This might work, I don't know. You want to make sure these are big enough. Let's see, how far, how high can I go? Probably, I'm going to say, I'm just going to say 8 inches is a good height. Yeah, 8 inches is a good height. And then we'll modify the length of it. So I can quit spinning around in space enough to where I can keep up with where I am. This is what gets frustrating. Uh-oh, I don't have a back on my truss. I'll have to fix that one. There we go. I know it's got to be frustrating for you if I'm spinning this thing around like that. Oops. Gotta make sure you get your snap point right. That's one thing cool about SketchUp is that all these tools, like I'm using the push-pull tool, and if you this push-pull tool allows you to push material back, and if you just want to delete that face, you hold it on the other face and it'll just disappear. It'll just zap it for you. Now let me fix this right quick. If I can get this spun around. What happened here was I thought I had a yeah, I'm not doing it right. Sorry. In SketchUp, what if it might be easier to just draw a big rectangle and put the back on it that way? Yeah, let's see if that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. No. Okay, that's the weirdness of SketchUp. Sometimes things just don't work out the way you want them. So it wants me to go in here and connect all these little, oops, which could get boring, but let me see how fast I can do this. maybe I can, if you hold the control key, yeah, that's probably the quicker way to do it. It'll pull those faces back up. I mean, it'll copy them instead of like trying to, you gotta be where you can reference something. Let's undo that. Now we're just getting into the minutia of SketchUp, aren't we? Did I get all my faces done? Looks like I did. No, isn't that something? I didn't even have the, it gets tricky, man. Uh-oh. Gotta pay attention to what you're doing. So that's enough on that. So I'm going to turn this back over. And so now you can see where all the gussets are. Now this one, these really should be bigger. Okay. I don't know if I should, do I have time? What time is it? I guess I better finish this part because then people will say, oh, you didn't, that ain't right. That ain't right, ArtisanTony. The only thing is I gotta bring that little part down and get that little nip off there, like that. So these just need to be big enough when you make them to get enough surface area to get a glue amount. And you see, this is where, you know, your questions are going to come up, like I was saying earlier. And you'll find out sometimes after this whole experience, you'll say to yourself, dang, why didn't I just order these trusses with all the time that I spent? Now, further in the interest of time, I'm just gonna. What did I do? I screwed up my truss, didn't I? I don't like this blue thing. This blue, anyway. I'm gonna. Turn it back to white. There we go. Fixed you, didn't I? I'm just gonna take and copy one of these right now, just so I can say I did put a gusset on everything. And then move that. You know, you're not going to have that. It's not going to be that. It doesn't need to be that big for those. That didn't do any good, did it? That was silly. So now we've got a gusset. Now you can make those gussets, you know, smaller for those. The rest of these I would make as large as I have them. As a matter of fact, you know, this gusset here wouldn't hurt even if that point came over a little farther. But you see, that's just getting your truss the right length and the right height and the webbing is one thing. All of those connections, and this was the point I was trying to make about the bridge in Florida. The connections are everything. They're everything with trusses. You have to be able to create a stiff enough connection so that these things do not, so that they transfer the loads. The only way this web member can transfer the load to this one is if it's connected so well that it's practically the same member, right? If you've got very loose connections, or just like this thing just comes down and meets, and this one comes down. Let me give you an example. Let me delete that for a second. If you just came down here and attached this member to the bottom chord independently of attaching this one to the bottom chord, it would not transfer. When this pushed down, it would just push against that, right? This needs to be so stiff of a connection so that once this is pushing down, all of a sudden now it's starting to pull down on that. This is in compression, that's in tension, okay, if the load is here, pushing down, okay? If the load is up here on top, now these are in compression, and this is in tension. You see, it's pushing down, 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 down. Up. If the load is up here in the center, okay. If I had a big pile of snow up here, okay, it's pushing down and then pulling down on this. If I had a big pile of snow right here, that's pushing down there and pulling down here. And I don't know why some people have a hard time with this. I've had all kinds of, I've had a good number of views on that video, the original one, but the follow-up video I did was really the one that explained more. I was just kind of goofing around in the first one and asking why, why. But okay, so you see the gussets there. I'm gonna make the gussets actually a group themselves. I know what I'll do. I'll make a layer. That's what I should do. I'll make a layer called gussets. I'm just going to say plates. Make it easy. And then I'll put all those in that connection, in that, go here to my entity info, put that in that layer, then I can just turn that layer off. Okay. So now, pay attention because I'm going to give you the dimensions, okay, of these, okay. So let's see, I may just leave them on here. Oops. I need to do this in layout. There's another program called Layout that comes with SketchUp Pro. Because it's wanting to, if I snap it there, it's basically 15 feet, but it's 15 feet 1/4 of an inch. Now, in reality, you could probably skip that quarter if you wanted to, and have a 1/4 inch less overhang if you were trying to keep this simple. But from long to short, this is what we call this measurement, long to short, because you're measuring from the long side of the angle up here down to the short part of the angle down here is 15 feet 1/4 inch. I'll just show you that. Okay, then that gives you your 412 pitch, and then that angle will be a 412 pitch on there, and then these obviously are 13'3". Yep, and what you can do, I'll just zoom in on that, 13'3". What you can do is you lay your framing square. This is the back side of the 412. What you'll do is see if I can draw a framing square right quick. Let's see, I think that's 12, and this is 24 inch. I think they're 1.75 inches, 1.75. Now I'm really making this video long, aren't I? 5. Okay, so I'll show you right quick how you do that. What you're going to do is spin this around, except it's going to be, oops, it should be I need to flip it over, so that means I have to mirror it like that, and then I got to spin it around like this. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. You're going to put, let me just get the angle right first. Okay, so what you're going to do is, what did I do? Yeah, you're going to put your 12. Let's come in here and find the center. Come on, cooperate. Let's just say that's 12. Okay. You're going to put your 12 on your framing square right here. Okay. That's your 12 mark. Okay. And this is going to be your 4 mark. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. You see how I did that? And that's the back side of the 412. Okay? You'll see what I mean. If you'll take your framing square and lay it on your piece, your member, and put the use the long side to get your long angle. Just remember that. Put this on 12 on your 2x4, and put this on 4. You know how you count down your framing square? You got 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. So your 412 does that. Now this is the other side of the angle. This is your ridge side of and your tail side of the angle. Okay, you see that mark right there? If I was going to mark that mark with my pencil and then move the framing square out of the way. Oops. You see, I just made the mark. That's called the short side of the 412. So you got on a framing square, this is why framing squares work better for stairs and rafters. That's how you get this long cut right here. Okay. And this is called the short side and the long side of the angle. Okay. They're both 412s, they're just different degrees. So this should be 22.5. If I was going to show you on a protractor, yeah, see, I don't know if you can, let's see, no, 22.5 is, I'm getting 18.4 degrees, is that right? And then this is, let's see, is that right? I'm losing my mind. I thought it was 22.5. 22.5 is half of 45, so maybe that's where I was getting at. But this is 18.4 degrees. The point is, you've got a long side and a short side. The long angle and the short angle, and that's how you cut this one on the bottom, on the end of that 2x4. So we'll just delete that. Probably should edit that part out, but I'm not going to edit this video. I'm just going to keep it that way. So if that, hope that helps. Now turn the let me just go ahead and I'll dimension these others for you. And you'll just have to look at the video. That's 2'7.5" to there. And if you really need them, I can make a let's see, let me go to here. I'll just put me some construction lines, and I'll dimension the center lines, and this will make it easier for you, okay? That's 2 foot 10 and 1/8, okay? So then this angle is going to be the 412, but this angle is going to be 45 both ways, you see? Because this is a 45 this way and that way, okay? So these angles right here are 45, okay? And that one's 2 foot 10 and 1/8, that piece right there. The length of this one is, and these are center lines, remember, 5 foot 8 and 1/4. 5 foot 8 and 1/4, okay? Then this dimension is 4 foot 1, 4 foot 1 and 1/2 to that point. And that is a 45-degree angle on both sides of that. Okay. Now I can send you and what I'll do is I'll try to put this as a download on one of my websites. And when I get it up there as a download, it'll just be like a paper version of it, a PDF version with the dimensions on it. But hopefully that helps get you going. And if I get a chance this weekend, what I'll do is I'll take the whole thing. Let's see, turn my gussets back on. Now I'm going to make this whole thing a component, see? So I've got all those groups which make up my component, which is a truss. So now what I'll do is I'll zoom in on the end of this, and how am I going to flip this up? Like that. Yeah, 90. Now, and I'll raise it up in the air 14 feet. And you said your building was 36 feet, so you'd have these, copy this. Oh, let me just do a real quick copy command. Grab the little, because this has been something that I have had to go over in my other videos, but I haven't really explained it very well. If you grab this move copy tool up here, and then you select your item, and then you click on a reference point on the item. You hold down the control key. If you don't hold the control key down, you're just going to move it. If you hold the control key down, you're copying it. Okay, so I'm just going to move it out here in space somewhere, and I'm going to say 24 inches. Now I haven't done anything else. Now I'm going to say times, what's the 18? Asterisk 18. You see? And that's how I got all your trusses just made, like that, right? Now, because this is a component, because I made that truss a component, now I can go in here and alter. Let's say I don't like that gusset, I'm going to just delete it, right? You see it changed all of them. That way, if you say, oh, I really want to make this a 512 pitch, and you wanted to go in here and really screw all this up, and grab it and start messing with it, like this, that would be funky, wouldn't it? You can change them all, you see, but that's the danger of doing that. I want to change it back. Put my gusset back on there. There we go. Now I'm back to being square. Now, if I have time this weekend, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and draw the entire pole barn to your dimensions. And so I hope this helps. Hope I didn't make this video too long. It probably is, but sorry. And I don't want to edit it, so it's just going to have to stay that long. I don't have time to edit anymore, really. But if you have any other questions, let me know, and I hope that helps. And I'll try to do, I will try to go ahead and do like a dimensioned drawing. I just have to do that in another software, to get better dimensions. It's this one called Layout. It's the construction document part of SketchUp that doesn't come with the free version. So it allows me to create actual drawings that I'll just pull up one of the ones I've already been working on. This is a house I'm building now. Go to this perspective. There's the perspective. Here's the floor plan. But you can see things are easier. The dimensions work, and I think they purposely did this. The dimensions work better, and text, everything works better in this. This is made for basically making your construction documents, your drawings, your physical drawings, after you've done the modeling in SketchUp. Layout, you can see up here it says Layout. This is the software that you would use to do your construction documents from your drawing, from your model. So I'm just going to turn that off for now. And so anyway, I hope that helped, and I will try to get the dimension drawing up, and you can, I mean, this just has to be close if you want to take those dimensions that I gave you and, you know, use those. The basic scheme here is, you know, this is 45 degrees, that's 45 degrees, that comes up to the center, then you have the center pole, and that's how it works out. Then they go on 2-foot centers, and then you'll have purlins that go across those, and it's very strong, you see. So anyway, I've rambled enough, and appreciate you guys for watching. Hope the video wasn't too long. See you.